Okay, we're a little bit late, but we'll just go ahead and get started. So I'm Lauren, for those of you that I haven't met yet. I'm working on all things BD and partnerships here at 3Box Labs, the core team behind Ceramic. We have a couple things on the agenda today, but just quick kind of shout out to start. There's a bunch of amazing community events coming up, and we'll be at a lot of those. So I think the next thing coming up will be ethNY in New York in the end of June. So our team will be around there, and ethNY, definitely hit us up, drop into the Discord. We'll be also probably throwing some happy hours and events, so we'll share that in the Discord. Would love to see you guys all there. If you're going to be around and want to find some time to meet directly with our team members, let us know. We can definitely coordinate that. And then the next event will be ethCC in July in Paris. A lot of our team will be there as well. We're also looking into doing a couple of events, maybe sponsoring some hackathons around ethCC. So also, likewise, if you're going to be there, hit us up, let us know. If you can find us, we would love to meet you in person and connect you with other folks in our ceramic community. HackFS, I believe that's on our radar. I'm not sure 100% if we're sponsoring yet. We'll share that out if and when I think we make a final decision around that. And so cool, I guess let's dive into things. I want to start with, I guess, just kind of a brief overview of what the agenda is going to look like for today's community call. We have an update first from Stephanie that's going to talk about some of the work we're doing to scale the ceramic anchoring service. Next, we'll have an overview from Avi on ceramic authentication and how that's changing. Some really great work being done there, both on kind of the sign-in flow, authentication mechanisms, adopting sign-in with Ethereum to be compatible with these kind of Web3 standards that are emerging, and just making it overall a better user experience for end users. Lastly, we're going to have some demos. Really excited about these two demos today. We're going to have Dysbulic joining us from Metagame to do a quick demo. And also the winner of Shanghai, Kelvin, is joining us to share and demo the work that they did on the bounty to add ceramic-based contacts to Superfluid, which is a payments app, if you guys are a protocol, I should say, if you're not familiar with it. At the end, we can leave some time for just open floor Q&A. But please feel free throughout to drop questions in the chat, comments throughout as we're going. We'll try to make this as collaborative as possible. So would love to hear from all of you guys that are on the line. So with that, I'll pass it to Steph. I actually think that you need to be a panelist. But you should be good now, Steph, to speak and turn on your video.
All right, can you hear me? Am I working? All right, cool. So I'm Steph. I'm one of the protocol engineers at 3Box Labs. So the project that I've been working on is the version 2 of the ceramic anchor service. So this version will have all the same functionality as the original CAS, the ceramic anchor service, but we will now be able to run the CAS in clusters. So this will allow us to ensure that our anchoring services can horizontally scale to meet the growing needs of the ceramic network before we can fully decentralize it. So for those of you who do not know what the ceramic anchor service is, it's a hosted layer 2 solution for generating anchor commits for streams. So ceramic nodes send requests to a CAS to have their streams anchored, then the CAS batches them into Merkle trees and sends an Ethereum transaction to include the root of the Merkle tree on chain. So again, this new version, our main goal is to improve scalability. So we want to be able to handle anchoring more streams per second. So in addition to this, we're also adding in a maximum anchoring delay, meaning that requests will always get processed during this period after they have been received. So this is to remove the risk of invalidating commits and not anchoring commits that have been made with a rotated key or a revoked key, but they're actually valid. So right now we're in the midst of implementation and we're making some good progress and yeah, going well.
Awesome, thanks, Steph. Anyone else on the team, if you want to add anything, and also any questions from anyone, we'll give it a second if you want to pop something in the chat, if you have any follow-ups there. And then if not, I'll turn it over to Avi.
One little thing I'll just add on that max anchoring interval that Steph talked about at the end there. just to explain the context there, right now the anchoring service runs, a batch kind of periodically based on usage. So like we try to always fill up a full batch of like 1024 streams. So how frequently streams get anchored depends on how much activity there is on the network. If there's more requests going, we anchor more frequently because we can fill a whole batch. But that means that if there's a period of time when there's lower usage of the network, or there's fewer requests coming in, that it might take longer for streams to get anchored. And so that is sort of what we're trying to solve with this, like have a maximum bound at which, like, even if there hasn't been that many anchor requests, if we haven't done an anchor at all within the last 12 hours, we will definitely do an anchor batch, even if it's going to be a smaller than usual batch. And this is basically just about, kind of balancing cost of like not doing a whole bunch of anchors that only have 1 or 2 transactions in them or a small number of transactions in them, versus like making sure that streams are getting anchored frequently enough to provide the guarantees that the system needs.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer.
Cool.
Let me know if you guys can see my little presentation here. I'll try to go full screen. So overall, I'm going to give you guys an overview of kind of what we're doing for auth this season. So we've got 3ID today, and it's really powerful. It's almost like an identity hub where you can link so many different identities across Web2 stuff, your many wallets. But there's also kind of movement around today, and you've probably heard a little bit of assignment with Ethereum, but it's moving around just making it super easy for users to authenticate to apps with just their wallet. And so we kind of took a look at our, how do we make that happen and how do we join that? And so we've been working with Spruce and Wallet Connect and a couple other folks, and kind of creating the standard of how can wallets and dApps work together better in a really simple, easy way. And so that's actually caused us to create this new path around DID PKHs. And so I'll walk through in a second, but it basically means it's a new DID method that complements 3ID. It's meant around super straightforward kind of signing into an app with your wallet. And then there's a spec around allowing the DID to communicate to the app, and that's called sign with Ethereum or sign with Web3. We'll get to that in a second. And then to extend that, part of the reason that we want to make it part of the cool thing that allows it to do in the spec and the DID method is that it allows the app to act on your behalf for the user. So you can do a lot of interesting use cases around not having to sign every single like transaction or doing async editing. And so we've kind of extended that not just for like the sign-in process, but throughout what we call kind of maybe the closest thing is like a Web2 session. But throughout this time that you're allowing the app to act on your behalf, you can not only just take actions like signing a message or liking, but you also can store data on behalf. And so Cacao is our implementation of kind of store with Ceramic as kind of a pair with sign up with Ethereum, where you can have an app store on your behalf. And so we'll kind of get through the implications of that, but it's kind of a new package of authentication that we'll talk through in a second. So DID PKH overall is super straightforward. It's a public key hash, so just a one-way math function that takes your wallet address and it works across any chain. So whether it's on Ethereum or another chain like Solana potentially, like there'll always be a unique ID created from the wallet. And so that's where kind of the PKH and the public key hash comes in. And with that, we also have created in our kind of sessions library, which we'll talk a little later, we basically create a temporary DID key that public key hash can control. And so for each session, there's a DID key that kind of allows you as an app or as a user to have the app control on your behalf for that time period. And then at some point, let's say 3 hours or so, that session ends and that key becomes invalid. And like we said, it works across any chain. And so kind of coming back to where does this fit in versus 3ID? Again, they're very different things. 3ID is about multi-account and cross-chain. You can rotate keys, you can revoke key access. DID PKH is very straightforward and it's really simple around just for a single wallet. But it also offers some improvements around security. So how we implemented 3ID Connect, which is 3ID is like package for authenticating with a wallet. Today, it involved kind of a browser-based iframe where the seed phrase was stored in the iframe. And that kind of left it a little vulnerable for potentially like a malicious Chrome or Firefox extension to nab it. So we think this is improvement for this kind of wallet native process. And it kind of serves this niche around just a simple sign on with a single app. And you've seen a little bit probably of the sign with Ethereum stuff, kind of joining different apps, but here's an example of the Clarity landing page. And so this allows the PKH, as you're signing in, to like have a spec, communicate with the app around some of the information around it. And so EIP 4361 is the Ethereum version of that, but we're also contributing to the Solana stuff and some of the other potentially like just generic multi-chain approach to how we do sign in with different chains on it. And so we're part of those working groups. And so the final part of this kind of arc around authentication is Cacao. And if you remember, it's a fun name, but it is kind of was coined by Sergey and some other folks. And we basically said, how do we take this ability of an app to work on your behalf? How do we delegate access? How do we do that? And so this specifically around permissions around, or capability access control around data. And it's specifically around the IPLD standard, which is the data standard that allows us to kind of put updates all the way down to IPFS. So this is unique to data. And so this is kind of like the first step around saying, what data models do I want to access? You'll hear a little bit more about how we've changed data models from Paul, but ultimately it should be really simple to say for a user, I want to just be able to make changes to posts and comments or allow the app to do that for me, but I don't want to change my profile on this thing. And so it'll be really simple for users and developers to say, here's what I'm asking for, and here's what I need to give me permissions for to toggle during the session. So it won't just be a kind of carte blanche, like I'm signing in and we'll have as much data as you can edit. And the last part of this is like, if you take permissions and you extend that, so we can create a lot of this kind of like Web2 session style logic. There's other more complex use cases, but you'll see we created a whole library around making it super simple to basically have a traditional session where data is stored on behalf of the user, actions are taken on behalf of the user. And so we created time to live and kind of a time-bound window in which this works. We did a lot of DX-friendly stuff around creating reauthorization flow around it. But there's a whole, basically a series of stuff that allows you to basically sign in seamlessly with your wallet, communicate with Solana or Ethereum spec, and then also Cacao lets you do that for data. And we've created a lot of tools around making that super simple. We'd love to hear your questions.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. What's the time frame for the release of the user-facing aspects of Cacao?
So great question. We've already got a first release out there. So Depop by Gitcoin is going to be powered by this. We have a program from Rox that can be like a kind of a simpler version of Cacao with our aren't granular permissions. So that's already live, but we're about 2 to 4 weeks away from having I would say the full stack of like more granular permissions around choosing what data models fit in there. So the short answer is like this current version of authentication works and it's live. And then the next 2 to 4 weeks, part of this is we want to create, there's a new data model you're going to be hearing about. And so we're trying to incorporate that into, so the more advanced granular permission part is probably a couple weeks away. The current version is live. This whole did PKH, sign with Ethereum, Cacao spec, that's live today. Is it Dice or Dice? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Cool. If nothing else to add to that, I think let's move to demos then. So maybe Dysbulic, I know you're kind of already up and running with your screen. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I've got, that's the thing is I run through OBS and I have to, if I just put on my camera, the only thing that I get in my recording is my picture of myself. So I have to, I have to have the screen shared. Yeah, I'll show off my meta real quick, which all that my meta is, if I can find it, is a profile editing system. So I'm coming through with a shared screen. Oh, wait, yeah, I'm screen sharing.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, so for example, this is one of my test profiles, and we have, you can click the, if you're in your own if you log in, I'll log out real quick. So if you connect and do the whole MetaMask bit and are on your own profile, which you can go to metagame.wtf/me, and that will load up your profile. You can click the edit button and it gives you a lot of the same basic profile fields that you see in self.id, the profile image, the header banner. We also have a page background that's not being used. Display name is just the name, the bio. Additionally, we have some fields like availability, which is the number of hours per week that you can be around. Pronouns rather than gender, because that's what most people use, is they give their pronouns. And then, so that you hit save changes, and it should pop up the ceramic authentication window. It says authenticating DID. It uploads the images to web3.storage, and then it updates ceramic. We have it's slightly tricky because we are using Hasura to store their profile data. And we get that data not from ceramic, but from the cache in Hasura. It takes a second between the update to ceramic and the update, and then Hasura's cache is invalidated when the update is done, but it takes it a second to pull it back down from ceramic. So there is a short period of time, unfortunately, where you can reload the page and your values will go back to what they were before you save, but we're getting there. Additional fields, we have the basic profile fields, and then we also have a extended profile schema, which has things like the hours you're available. This is based on Magic the Gathering, the 5-color personality typing system, and you can set your type to whatever you want. And if you save it, it will save it into that extended schema in ceramic. I'll show you someone else's for the NFTs. I've only got 3 NFTs, but this Peeth is one of the primary visionaries of Metagame, and he has, you can see, it just gives you a list of, and this is from OpenSea. It pulls down a list of your NFTs and your DAOs and list, and this is from DAO House. The other major part of this program is the leaderboard. We use SourceCred to evaluate contributions. What SourceCred is a system that takes all of the GitHub pull requests and commits and all of the different interactions with GitHub, as well as all of the messages and emojis and all the stuff from Discord and Discourse as well, the forum system. And it creates a graph of all of these different contributions, and then uses PageRank to quote unquote flow a token so that it sort of equalizes throughout the graph. And that is the XP. That's XP. So players are continually, their amount of XP is continually slightly increasing. But then at the end of each month, based on that distribution of XP, a value bound token is minted and distributed. And so that's how compensation works in Metagame. And this metagame.wtf/players is the leaderboard, which just has how much their seasonal XP, which we use the same seasons as just the traditional, like the solstice and the different things for spring, summer, winter, whatever. It gives your seasonal. You can also switch and do overall. And yeah, so we have a leaderboard. We have a profiling system. After you save your profile in Metagame, you can head over to self.id and look at your profile there, and you'll see that the changes are updated between the two. And that's all I can think of at the moment.
That's great. I was just thinking, could you maybe give a quick overview of like what Metagame is? I'm not sure. There are probably some folks on the line that are not familiar with it.
It's very difficult to describe. Like, we'll have a lot of people that drop into the Discord and say, what is this? What are you all doing? It is honestly the common theme for a lot of it is people that believe that those whole, like that these new coordination problems can be solved. and that software is a part of it. The vision of the profiling system was Peeth and some of the early founders. We're also working on, we have at chiev.es, a site, I misspelled that, a site that is, we are doing NFTs to represent progress through an achievement system. And we also have a questing system where people can put up tasks that they want accomplished and see them done. So it is, yeah, it's very difficult to describe. There's been a lot, though there was a recent talk, there's a not monthly, but like bi-weekly podcast. And there was the blockchain socialist talked about anarcho-syndicalism. And that seemed appropriate in many ways for at least a lot of the, it's a very diverse group, but at least a lot of the core beliefs.
Awesome, thanks. One question I had is, so it sounds like you're using web3.storage for storing the images, Ceramic, and then Hasura, I think you said, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, Hasura is a GraphQL interface to a Postgres database.
Got it.
So it lets me write GraphQL and Postgres handles the storage.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, I was curious to hear more about like the decision to use like these 3 different kind of data storage tools for different elements of the app. Like, does that add more complexity? And maybe if you could share more about like why each piece fit that specific need well, or
Absolutely. Ceramic is there for, I mean, its core principles, the capacity for interoperable shared data. And it's really the only solution in that arena that's out there that at least that I've run across. And I mean, I guess there's like textile and maybe some stuff that's similar, but not really, at least so far as the deep down data models and a truly distributed network and all that. Ceramic's where it's at. So that's why Ceramic's there. Hasura, what Hasura does is it lets us do certain calculations where we need access to all of the players at the same time. And so, yeah, like the leaderboard, we have to cache certain information in order to do certain types of cumulative computations. And then the web3.storage is just, I didn't want to put everything into our IPF node that's running with Ceramic because I was worried about overloading it. And I love what Protocol Labs has been doing and the idea of Filecoin. And yeah, that's just another one of those technologies that really seems to be where things should be headed. And I wanted to get on the wagon.
Awesome. Thanks. That was super helpful. Comments from other folks on the line, questions, anything else before we go to our next quick demo? All right. Well, thank you so much, Dysbulic, for coming on. I know it was also a little last minute, so I appreciate you making it work. Kelvin, I think that you're up.
Hello, good afternoon. So I'm doing a demo for Ceramic Address Book. Ceramic Address Book is an app built on Ceramic for storing address books on chain. So I'm going to do a small demo here. So the address books are stored on Ceramic using data models, and each of the Ceramic books are unique to the user. So using the DIDs. Comment. So can anybody hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little faint in your video.
Okay. I'm coming. Let me share my screen. I'm coming. Share screen. Since I can't share my screen. Uh,
You should be able to share. Are you having trouble finding the button, or
yeah.
it should be a green arrow at the bottom if you're not seeing that? Let me know.
Middle,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
middle.
seeing it. I think macOS is preventing me from sharing the screen from Chrome. I'm coming.
All right, no worries. Maybe I'm trying to think while you're doing that, while you're trying to get that up. I can just drop another quick update from our team into the chat. So we're actually hiring for a bunch of roles right now at 3 Box Labs. I'll drop the link into the chat. Some notable roles that come to mind are our community lead, and this is really very different from a community manager, which is maybe a more common role that you see in the ecosystem. And for us, this is really like an architect that's helping us define the strategy of how we think about growing our community, helping them to kind of like collaborate and figure out ways to get involved and contribute to the ceramic ecosystem. We're also hiring for a head of engineering. So someone fairly senior that would be kind of overseeing the day-to-day ops of our team, on the engineering side, of course. And then I'm trying to think, we are also still hiring our product lead role as well. So again, someone who is a fairly seasoned product expert who has experience with more kind of technical products and developer tools. More details can be found on our jobs page. I think there's a bunch of other open roles as well. I don't know, Jen, if you wanted to jump in with anything else here or down the line. But if you have questions about any of those roles or you're interested, feel free to like DM us. I'm always happy to chat. Kelvin, if you're still figuring that out, we can just move on to one other section and give you some that you need it.
All right. I'm still figuring it out. I'm coming. I'll wait.
We could also do a screen, Kelvin. We could also do a screen share after and just share it in the ceramic Discord. So if we can't do it synchronously right now, like a lot of the same folks will be in the Discord.
Cool. I guess last piece is I wanted to just kind of open it up for more of an open floor. I think I saw Nuno that you're on here. Anyone else, if you guys have any like questions or topics that you want to discuss, we wanted to just give some time for people to ask questions or share discussion topics. So we'll pause for a minute. Feel free to just like post anything in the chat that you're interested in or have questions about, or feel free to raise your hand if you want to chat live. All right, if there is nothing else, and nothing else from anyone on our team, Kelvin, why don't I just follow up with you after, and we will get your demo recorded and we'll drop it into the ceramic Discord since we weren't able to make it work this time around. So otherwise, thanks everybody for joining again. We'll see you next month for our July edition. And yeah, remember, if you'll be in New York for ethNY, ethNY, definitely hit us up and let us know. And otherwise, have a good rest of your day. And thanks for joining.